science is a very vague term. If you look at it, it's very blurry. So we cannot be like jack of all trades.
What do you think the world will look like in the next 5 years? Hello everyone, welcome to Apta Stories. This series of podcasts is all about getting to know the stories of people from Aptagrim. I'm Harika, I'll be your host. In today's episode, we will be interviewing a data scientist. I'm delighted to welcome our guest Koushik Kumar. He's a data scientist working with Aptagrim. He started his career as a test automation engineer with TCS, and with passion in the field of machine learning and deep learning, he switched his career towards data science.
Hi Harika, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Can you tell us about your career journey? How did you get into data science?
Okay, career journey, I would actually, if I go back, take my education background into picture, my bachelor's is actually in electronics and communications. So I was always fascinated with respect to the image processing, basically the signal processing, image, video or audio. So once I moved towards my job was in, automation test engineer. So it gave me a lot of analytical skills at that particular point of time. But at the same time, this, the deep passion to do something in this particular field of signal processing was also there. So I started looking at the areas where I can actually plug in my skills, whatever I need on that particular education front, and maybe on the end of software. So that's where I found, the machine learning, deep learning, we actually solving a lot of, problems and giving an excellent solutions to the real-time world. So I think that's where I found my passion and I wanted to move towards ML and AI.
That's an excellent. I feel that you did a great move. Switching career these days is little difficult. There are a lot many people who wish to continue or who wish to start their career in data science. Irrespective of their backgrounds, people are coming in these ways. So what do you think?
Okay. So when I think of roadmap, even I was on the same conflict. What exactly where I should start? So when I started doing my own research, I found that the data science is a very vague term. If you look at it, it's very blurry. So it can start as, as early as data engineering, where we process or we store a lot of data. We call that as big data. So even storing that data and managing that data is really challenging. So I can say data science can even start there. Okay. So you can even choose your career in that particular area where you manage the data. And then let's say going forward, what are we going to do with that particular data? We do have something called analytics, and then machine learning, deep learning, and then reinforcement learning. And all of this put together, I would say this is what we call data science as. So what exactly, most of us are lacking to which particular area that we should map ourselves to. We cannot be like jack of all trades. We cannot get every field or every subdomain in this particular data science, and we may not be able to master it over time. So it's always ideal to choose one particular area. Just to give you a glimpse of it, say you have data, you want to analyze it, so that's where data analytics come into picture. So you now have analyzed, you want to do some predictions, you want to do some recommendations, so that's where you can actually go into machine learning. Let's say the data is really huge and it's really complex, that's where you can choose deep learning. Let's say you want to use this particular data, whatever you got now, in a way to either reward or to punish, so that the model predicts really well. So that's where you actually get into reinforcement learning. So if you can understand these bits and pieces in data science, and if you can choose what exactly the field that you want to get into, that's where the real magic begins. So you do not learn the entire stuff, you can just focus on one particular area, and then master that area and have an overall knowledge of the rest of the things. I think that is one particular way in which you can ace your career in data science.
Thank you for the detailed answer. As you mentioned various terms like reinforcement learning, deep learning, machine learning. So people do confuse between these words, or there is this misconception that these are all same. So according to you, what is that difference between machine learning, deep learning? Should learn about machine learning before getting into deep learning.
Okay, so the main question, should one have a knowledge of machine learning in order to understand deep learning? I would say not necessary, but having a knowledge is really good. When you have a prior knowledge on how a simpler data works, how an algorithm works, or let's say the optimizers, or how do you calculate the loss functions. If you have little idea of this in the stage of machine learning, then it can really help you in the areas of deep learning. So if you have the knowledge, it is really good. But if you think you directly want to jump into the area of deep learning, you can still do that too.
So, to summarize the things, they are not the same.
No, it's like I would say one is overlapping the other.
Okay, with respect to machine learning and deep learning, I know this is like a continuous discussion. So, we'll go to the next question. What do you think the world will look like in the next 5 years?
Okay, so one, you're going to see a rapid transformation because of ML and AI, and it doesn't limit itself to any specific domain. Let's say, the ones that I'm betting on a lot is firstly the field of medical science, field of pharmaceuticals, and then maybe agriculture. So there are going to be many revolutions in these particular areas, and I think most of those things are already visible now. When we are taking COVID-19, when we are trying to analyze if what kind of drug works, I've heard that most of the pharmaceutical companies are also using ML and AI in these particular areas to see what drug might actually work or what combinations might actually work on this kind of virus. So the evolution is going to be like fivefold, tenfold, or even hundredfold greater in the coming years with respect to AI.
So, you have mentioned about different domains, right? So, can you name any one domain where this data science can completely transform the whole experience?
Medical sciences, that's one particular domain where we are going to see rapid transformations. I don't say only medical care, but I am thinking that it is something where we can actually expect a lot. Okay, so let me give an example. Let's say the genome sequencing, identifying that what kind of a disease a person might or the offsprings might get from their parents. So this is one particular area where we can actually know what the offspring might actually suffer from and actually take precautions with it. So that can be done through sequencing and combining it with AI. And also, there are many people in the world like with disabilities. So we at Aptagrim are also working on one such application called Apta where we are enabling the blind, visually impaired, to help understand their surroundings. So it can help them on their obstacles. It can help them in doing a shopping, a product shopping, where they can know what is written on the top of a carton box or something. So all these things are now possible just because of AI.
I appreciate you for your answer. You gave a good example as well. So, moving on, what are the ideal characteristics that an aspirant data scientist should possess?
Okay, ideal characteristics. I would say patience is really important. The reasoning for that, see, whenever we are working with data, the data that we get is more or less never complete. So we do have gaps, we do have noise in the data, and tackling it in order to get the data in proper format for pre-processing is really important to get best results. So that generally takes a lot of time. So that is really important, and patience is really important in that particular area. And secondly, whenever we are working with a model, tuning the model is really important to get the desired results. So let's say we have an architecture, we know that this architecture can give good results, but every data is different and every data cannot give, a model cannot guarantee that you plug in and you'll get the output. We need to tune many parameters in order to get the desired outputs. So in those scenarios, it takes a lot of time, and we need to be patient in that particular point of time in order to get the desired outputs. So patience is really important.
Okay. What are the challenges that you're currently facing with your role?
See, whatever the role that we choose, there are always difficulties, but a nature of never giving up is always important in order to overcome those roles.
What is the one lesson that your job has taught you?
Okay, I think I need to think on this. Okay, one thing that I always found, throughout my work life, hard work is really important. Working hard really pays off, and at the same time, it's not just the hard work. You should also be smart at your work. It's like smart work pays even faster, but have both of them in sufficient quantities so that you can work hard whenever there is a requirement, and at the same time you are smart enough in order to overcome any difficulties and outplay things. So that's one. And two, never give up. As I said earlier, there are difficulties, there are challenges in whatever we do, so we should always be in a scenario where we should never give up. And lastly, do what you love. It's not just in the profession of data science, but any profession that you are taking, whatever you do, it's always important that you love it so that you give your best and it not just helps you to grow but also the company, or whatever the project that you're working on. It gives you a kind of satisfaction, and I think my personal belief, that's really
So, the first point you mentioned about smart work. Did it ever occur to you to start your own business?
Hmm, okay, that's interesting. See, being in this particular field, there are many solutions that we are trying to find. And whenever I see a problem, I'll be like, oh yeah, this can be solved, and maybe it can even be converted into a business, you know, into a business solution.
Thank you. Thank you, Koushik. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be coming up with different podcasts from different domains. Stay tuned.